Hello, beautiful humans. Ryan Magic here, and welcome to the Ryan Magic Show. I'm feeling really excited and a little nervous because this is my first solo episode back to the podcast show. I've been in hiatus for a little bit and really missing doing these episodes, but just knowing that I didn't have the space to be able to dependably create multiple episodes of the show. And so I've been patiently waiting. And I'm at a point now where I'm going to be releasing two episodes every week, one interview with somebody else. And this is at a minimum. I might do more, but at least an episode, a solo episode where I'll either be interviewed by somebody and answering questions on the topic, or I'll just straight out, like I am now, riff on the podcast on particular topics. So I'm really excited to be back. And if you're watching this right now, before I kick into the episode for today, I just wanted to invite you to connect with me, either one of three ways, actually one of two ways. Jump over to Instagram and shoot me a message. My Insta handle is @TheRyanMagic. And if you shoot me a message, I'll be able to go across and stalk you and check you out and connect. And I really love getting to know who I'm in relationship with, because we are in relationship in one form, and it's very wholesome and fulfilling for me to get to see and experience whose lives I'm impacting in some level. So please shoot me a message there, or send me an email at that's my Insta handle. My email is ryan@ryanmagic.com. You can also check out the website to see what I have coming up. I've got two things that I'm really prioritizing at the moment: teaching meditation, a technique I call COR meditation, and running a workshop that is a modality I've created called the COR Method, which will help you with your most courageous and fulfilling life. So let's get into the episode for today. I've already named it. I'm going to be calling this episode Embracing Normalcy. And I want to do a little bit of a hybrid between teaching and updating you guys on what I've been up to in my life over the last 18 months, because it's been quite a exposing and confronting chapter that I've been in. And I'm currently in the process still of integrating the season that I'm in life. And so to give a little, because the way this episode is going to work is I'm just going to messily riff, share, and speak on these topics. I haven't planned anything. I know a gist of what I want to speak about, but the name really resonates: embracing normalcy. So my life has been very, very interesting over the last 5 years. Because 5 years ago, when I became very acutely aware of the fact that all of the business success that I'd built up, being a multi-million-dollar young entrepreneur at the age of like 25, 26 years old, everything that was driving me was coming from a place of fear and insecurity. Like my whole purpose and mission, the impact that I was putting out there, I have a conscience. I've wanted to do nice things and impact people and touch people's lives, and I enjoy connecting with people and whatnot. But essentially, my deepest childhood wounds were running the show, and I wasn't aware of it. And when I became aware of it, it shocked me. It caught me off guard in such a big way that you could say it was a spiritual awakening, but without a spiritual experience, but just a real abrupt realization that, holy crap, I've been wearing a mask. And it was the beginning of the end of my ego dominant success, but it was the very early stage beginning of learning to live a wholesome, healthy life as an adult human being. And I really feel the purpose and the service that I have here on this planet to help people in the personal development industry find a sense of deep grounded confidence, fulfillment, health, self-worth, self-love, intimate connection, and to be able to make your dreams come true, but in the most wholesome way. Because what I've realized over the last 5 years, and this is what's motivated this episode, is really speaking to my most recent revelations on this topic of embracing normalcy. But the last 5 years, I've realized how mentally unwell I essentially am. Like, I've got a lot of deep mental health issues, and fortunately, but also unfortunately, fortunately, the way that my trauma and mental health issues manifested in the world was through the addiction. So still in a lot of addiction, but addiction to things that society celebrate. I've been addicted to success. I've been addicted to work, addicted to accomplishment, performance, and essentially, very confusingly, tick the boxes that society says makes someone an exceptional person, but then inside being very confused because feeling very lonesome, lonely, unhealthy, like I had adrenal fatigue. I didn't really know how to have healthy connections in my life, and very confused on that. Hey, I'm doing everything that the world taught me that I should do, and it wasn't easy to create the success that I'd created. So why was life feeling so empty, even though I'd created so much? 4-story designer house, supercar, seemingly successful relationship on the surface, 2 good-looking people that are like power couple, right? Good body, big team, big business owner, donating heaps of money to charity. Like, on the surface, I know that that seems to be like a pretty epic result for a 24, 25, 26-year-old young man doing it all in an impact-driven business, meaning coaching, or in a coaching business. But I was deeply insecure underneath all of that. And so it's been very confusing, because at that point I was receiving the most external validation, but felt the most insecure. And my last 5 years has been delayering my attachment to that external validation. And what it looked like initially was shutting my business down, shutting down my source of significance, to learn to feel significant for who I am and what I am, as opposed to what I've done or what other people perceive to be good or worthy. And I had to learn to find my own inner locus of worthiness. So that's been very confusing, because this safety strategy of mine to be successful in achieving, that was established at a very early age, that where I went, mommy and daddy will love me if I'm successful and I'm achieving and I'm perfect and I'm a good boy. And in a very unsafe environment with 2 drug addicted, very mentally unwell, suicidal parents, let's just say that I didn't really learn what it felt like to feel safe in my body. And so my strategy of navigating that was, well, I've got to be the best. I've got to be the best of all time, and then I'll be worthy of love. There's a lot in this, people. There's a lot in this. And so that has been the very confusing situation that I've been unraveling. The reason it's confusing is because if my body tells me that, because essentially what it is in a nutshell, framed from one angle, is it's referred to, if you read the book Healing the Shame That Binds You, by John Bradshaw. He calls it toxic shame. And that is where at a young age, someone believes that they are shame-ridden. They are inherently defective or flawed, or there's something wrong with them. And because there was so much turbulence, and as kids, we're so dependent on our parents that we have to take ownership of what's going on, because our minds can't compute the idea that our parents are the ones that don't have their stuff together, because if our protectors don't have their stuff together, that's not a reality we can accept. So we always internalize it. And so because there was so much turbulence going on as a young boy, I essentially developed toxic shame. And toxic shame symptomatically is me believing that I'm less than human. And as a result, the only way that I can escape that like deep down belief that I am defective and flawed is to either, one, treat other people the same way that I was treated. So repeat the pattern that was injected into me, inherited from my parents, and be aggressive, loud, controlling, etc. And therefore, in those moments, inflict upon others the same way that I had kind of abuse inflicted upon me. And which I do in subtle ways in relationship. I can be very controlling and manipulative without even realizing it. When I'm aware of it, then I can obviously rein it in. And that's one way that I could escape the inherent feeling of being flawed. The other way, though, is to try to be superhuman. So I inherently feel less than human, and I believe that the only way that I can escape that is by being more than human, superhuman, which is why I was so successful. And so even though there's a lot of people that were inspired by my success, I was the most recognized, the most idolized, the most pedestaled, and the most celebrated at that point when I had the most success in my previous business before I shut it down. Even though I had the most of that externally, I struggled the most internally. And so the reason that I've been confused over the last 5 years is because I've been learning how to human. I've been learning how to be a healthy, wholesome adult. And I'm really impressed with my capacity to do that. But my ego strategy of being recognized, when that safety piece got ripped away, well, I intentionally took it away so I could learn to live without it. But that was very confronting because the more I developed myself to become worthy unconditionally, the less external validation I've received. Like, I receive the least external validation right now for where I am in my life, but I have the most wholesome connection that I've had to myself. And so even though I know at a deep heart level that my purpose is to make a substantial difference in the world, like on a scale, I know that intuitively and deeply in my heart, but it's the universe's essentially this idea that what we're attached to, if we're on a spiritual path, if we're attached to something and the universe gives it to us, then it's not teaching us to be okay without it. It's not teaching us to love ourselves without that thing. So if you're like, I need my queen, I need to call in my king, I need to find my dream partner, I need my soulmate. And then the universe is like, cool, here they are. Then you haven't learned to be full and wholesome and fulfilled and feel worthy without that attachment. And so for me, the universe has very much been teaching me in a pretty challenging way, but also a really supportive way, how to be a healthy, functioning adult. And it's very boring. It's awesome for me, but it's boring for my old audience. I'm aware of this. I'm aware of the fact that people, because this is the thing, and this is where this embracing normalcy piece becomes relevant. I'm going to drop some content here that I feel is really important, and I hope that you have the openness and receptivity to receive this. people that feel unworthy and less than pedestal people that they look up to want to be more like. I'm not good enough, so I got to find someone. These people are better than me, and this big group of people are worse than me. And I need to be more like these people that are better than me. And it sounds a little bit pessimistic, but the personal development space is full of people. It's kind of fueled by people feeling insecure and unworthy for who they are. That's what makes the space exciting. That's why people go, oh my gosh, David Goggins, he pushes so hard. Fine. Oh, maybe if I follow him, I can be awesome like him and not crap like me. And it might not be languaged like that out loud to others, but at a feeling level, at a energetic level, at a deep internal psychological level, that's what I know most people, because I know myself and I know the 1,000+ clients I've worked with pretty well. And I know personal development pretty thoroughly because I've had to spend so much time studying it and doing workshops, and I've needed a lot of support. But for the first half of my personal development journey, at least, I was using it as a way to try to be less unworthy, not because I love myself so much and I want to support myself, but because if I can use these personal development hacks and then I can be more like these other thought leaders that are good because I'm bad. They're successful, they're doing it right, whereas I'm not as successful as them, so I must be doing it wrong. And that's the symptom of toxic shame. That's what it looks like. And so now I'm in the business of loving myself unconditionally and building from a very solid foundation, because I'm still super ambitious. I have massive dreams, really exciting dreams, but I'm just aware now of where those dreams have oriented from. How are they birthed in love or are they birthed in fear? And at the moment, I've really had to learn to come to terms with and feel awesome being a human being, being a human being, and not trying to become a superhero. Yeah, because for me, that was being fueled from an unhealthy place. And so the last year and a bit, the reason that this is a relevant topic for me is because, I've lived a pretty awesome life. I definitely know what it feels like to embrace possibility. I know that success at a big level is possible because I've had a business that does multi-million dollars a year at a very young age. So I know that. But I also, having experienced that, and I've been exposed to lots of little hints from the universe that's taught me this from so many different angles. Another one being, I was also in a business networking group with, let's say, a couple of hundred people in Melbourne, but part of a bigger organization called Entrepreneurs Organization, which has 12,000 members globally. If you added up the company revenue of all the entrepreneurs in there, because you have to be doing around $1.5 million a year to get into it. If you add up the revenue of all of it and just have those 12,000 people, it would make the 6th biggest country in the world from a GDP perspective, gross domestic produce, which is like a measurement of how much money all the businesses within that country make. So pretty crazy size. There's billionaires in there. And I was in a group which who I'd catch up monthly with 7 other people doing $8 to $150 million a year, let's say. And I got to experience what it looked like if I was to continue to go down the journey of building more and more and more, and being stuck in the loop of constantly escalating goalposts for my worthiness. I witnessed beautiful, amazing men, people that I still call friends now. But I could see the entrepreneur's curse. I could see the curse of someone being really, really successful, but not really fueling that from a place of like deep worthiness, more fueling it from an egoic place, not from an ego, like I'm an egomaniac and I'm a bad person, but I could see the commonalities of all of the people that whole 150 person organization, pretty much largely being fueled from a place of lack and fear, not from a place of love. And I remember there was one point where I brought up a topic with the group of fulfillment versus success, and spoke about this book, The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying by Bronnie Ware, which is a book written by a palliative care nurse, a nurse that supports people when they're about to pass over to the other side, when they're about to die. And from seeing that, like, I can't remember, I don't know exactly how many she saw, but she did it for many, many years, and definitely saw at least hundreds of people on their deathbed, and got to experience what their top regrets were. What are the common patterns of what people regret? And they are, that just to reel them off from the top of my head, living a life that others expect of me, not one that's authentic to me. It's like the top one. So not having the courage to live a life true to me, but instead the life that other people expected of me is the top regret. The next one, I can't remember the order. I know that was the top one, but the next one was working too hard was one of the top regrets. Top 5. Another one was not giving myself permission to express how I feel. Another one was not staying in touch with friends. And another one was not giving myself permission to be happy. And if you look at those top 5 regrets, when I shared them with the whole entrepreneur group that I caught up with monthly, they all kind of like had a bit of over the next month or two after that, some kind of like midlife crises in a way, or really struggled with that, because all of them realized, holy crap, am I doing this for my fulfillment? Or am I like, is this really what I want to do from my heart? Or am I just doing this because I think I have to, and I can't stop myself because I'm going to feel too guilty, or I'm not good enough if I stop, or I don't go bigger and hit my goals. I'm not good enough. And they all related to that. I remember there's just so many examples of how these particular men didn't give themselves permission to do the aspects of the business that they loved, doing several, just like millions and millions of dollars a year, but didn't focus on the areas of passion in the business. That doing the things they think they have to keep ticking in boxes, even though money is never a problem for the rest of their lives again. So that was such a blessing for me, because I could see myself in these men. They're such beautiful people, and they had this problem as well. And I realized, holy crap, this is what's been fueling me. If I really loved myself, what would I be doing with my life? And I realized that I needed to learn to feel unconditionally worthy of love for who I am. And that when I loved myself, I prioritized fulfillment first. I prioritize fulfillment first. Not, okay, cool, I'm going to try to set this big goal and I'll achieve it in 3 years' time and then feel awesome for a day. Meanwhile, over 3 years, the 1,000 days that I experienced, I wasn't giving myself permission to celebrate me and live my most fulfilling life. And I have one day to celebrate after 3 years. That's, what if I could embrace life and fulfillment daily as the priority? Then I'd have 1,000 days of fulfillment being the priority, not one day. And most people are living for the one day. They're living for some future idea of who they should be, not even like deeply desire in their heart to be, but who they should be from what they were told by society or their parents. There was a speech that I listened to, like, that a guy came to talk to our group of the multi-million-dollar entrepreneurs in this entrepreneur organization. And so it was an intimate workshop, and the 8 of us were listening to this guy who had over 10,000 employees in his company. There was a 9-figure plus business, and he was essentially shutting it down because he realized, first and foremost, when he was younger, he became an accountant because that's what his dad told him to do. This guy was from overseas, from somewhere in Asia. Dad taught him to be an accountant. So he became an accountant. And then he realized in his late 20s, oh my gosh, I just did this because my dad told me to do this. Screw this. I'm going to go be an entrepreneur. My dad didn't let me do that. And then he became an entrepreneur. And he still realized I became an entrepreneur reactive to my dad. It wasn't actually birthed from my heart. I did it because it wasn't what my dad told me to do, not because it was what I wanted to do. And so then the 20 plus years that he developed and built an multi-$100 million empire, that was also fueled from fear. It wasn't him actually living his most fulfilled life. So he was in the process of shutting that business down. And for me to hear that from someone in their 50s was such a blessing. I'm so lucky that I've been exposed to all of this, but it's been very confronting for my ego to actually commit to learning to live a life that's wholesome. And for me, that's why this episode's called Embracing Normalcy, because even though I've got the capability, and we all do, to do massive, courageous action, and I can work 100 hours a week and build a multi-million-dollar business, I don't really know how to be a dependable and to feel safe in a relationship, to have a healthy relationship. I don't know how to have regular, healthy connections with friends. I don't know how to have a healthy, balanced life, a wholesome life. I can play I can be a psychopath and, end up becoming a Robin Williams. Say his name, Robin Williams? Yeah. Robin Williams that the world knows. And cool, I've given you some entertainment through some movies, but then deep inside, I'm not actually fulfilled. And I'm so mentally unwell that I kill myself. I could go down that route, or I could not be known by the world, but be deeply loved, connected, respected, trustworthy, wholesome, and be living an incredibly fulfilling life that not many people know. And that's been my journey. It's been letting go of this idea that I have to be superhuman, I have to be known, recognized, accomplished, super successful, not completely dropping my dreams, but letting go of the attachment to that in substitute for my own fulfillment. Because what's really more self-loving and empowering? Is it more self-loving and empowering for me to give myself permission to live to do what I want to do in a day, to feel good, to feel really purposeful and meaningful and aligned, and to prioritize things that make me feel good? For me this morning, this is what I did. I woke up, didn't get on my phone. I slept in, by the way, because I went to bed late last night. Slept as much as I needed to, so my body was rested. I woke up. I went and did a postural workout at the park, working on my posture. Grounded as well, went for a barefoot walk in the grass. I then came back, had some bone broth, did a breath work, had a cold shower, did breath work to connected to some emotions that were present for me, released them and kind of sat with them. And then I meditated. And then I cooked myself a healthy organic breakfast. And then I've jumped into some work. I think I had a chat with my sister as well after that. So I feel really awesome. And now I'm doing my passion as well. I love speaking. I love doing this right now. Running this podcast for you guys and for my own fulfillment and passion. But there's a lot of prioritization there of what's aligned for me. In the past, I would get up on a Saturday, because it's a Saturday. I actually water damaged my laptop, so I haven't been able to work as productively the last week. So I felt really excited to work today. But generally, if it was a work day for me, there was no way I would give myself, which today is, permission to spend a few hours in the morning doing wholesome activities to really light me up. If I did, I would sacrifice my sleep so I could work a huge amount and crush my goals to get to the next level, to get to 5 mils, so that I get to 10 mils, so that I get to 20 mils, so I get to 50 mils, so I get to 200 mils, so I get to 300 mils, so I get to $1 billion, so I have a net worth of $10 billion when I die. That's literally what my goal was, because I wanted to play my biggest life, but not my most fulfilling life. And that's where the shift's been coming in for me. And man, it's been very difficult to let go of the attachment of being recognized as a superhuman, because without that, I feel less than human. That's the condition That's toxic shame. That's why I'm learning to embrace normalcy. So it has been a very excruciatingly difficult journey because I've got a lot of friends in the coaching space. And what I'm about to say, I see a lot of people haven't been able to start the journey that I've started, which, go me, I'm going to celebrate myself for this. But since being in a relationship over the last year and a bit, that is more normal in a sense, like with someone that's more healthy, not whiz bang crazy set of accomplishments or, you know, some kind of supermodel, but just a really beautiful, gorgeous soul. And man, it's been challenging for me because to be in a relationship where someone's, I'm going to pivot directions a little bit here. Okay. So I've updated you a bit on kind of my condition. You know what? I'll wrap up a little bit more on the purpose, business focus, going from success drive to normal fulfillment, prioritizing fulfillment over success, essentially. So if you look at my lifestyle now, it's geared for my fulfillment, not for my success. And it's difficult because I constantly have that safety strategy, that ammunition that my mind has over me because it believes I'm unsafe unless I'm superhuman. So whenever I'm choosing, like I'm de-layering the conditioning that says I have to be superhuman all the time. It is so difficult to do that. It has been so challenging over the last 5 years to learn to go on a holiday, to learn to work 8 hours in a day, not 16 hours in a day. Really, like seriously, 16 plus. So that has been so difficult. And like I said, for me, it's been really challenging because, like I said about attachment, the universe will block what we're attached to in order to try to teach us to love ourselves without it. And the universe has really been teaching me to fall in love with the wholesome desires that I have in my heart versus desperately and unhealthily, obsessively pursuing some ever-escalating future place where I'll finally be so superhuman that the world will love me. And then I'll get to experience love. I'm learning to actually just give myself the love and receive the love and give myself permission to receive the love from people and around me without having to have a net worth of $10 billion. And so it feels very exposing to do this podcast episode with you guys and to talk about this but in truth, like I'm learning to be a healthy adult. I know that most people in society aren't healthy, but in some elements, the average person, or like, let's just say a normal healthy person, a common healthy person would have a lot of attributes that I haven't even learned. You know, sure, I could teach them about big business success or being courageous and stuff like this, and lots about, you know, every personal development modality, spiritually, emotionally, mentally. You know, I could teach them a lot, but there's things that my life journey, my soul's journey has had to embrace and learn to embrace. Like I've started, I perceive, a lot further behind the average person in terms of nervous system regulation. You know, I was born into this world feeling incredibly scared, incredibly shy, incredibly anxious. And I've had to learn, and still am in the process of learning, to live without unhealthy addictions and coping tendencies, and to know that I can trust other people. A lot to talk about. This is a heavy episode. But the reason I'm sharing this is because I really do believe that on some level, most people in the personal development landscape can relate to what I'm saying. Most people could connect with the idea that they are attempting to become better because they don't think they're enough. And this is a product of where society's at, ever escalating modern technology that globalized us. If you think about the pressure that we experience as a human being in our nervous system now compared to when we're living in a tribe, even though it was more dangerous living in nature in a tribe than it is in this society, the pressure on the nervous system was substantially less. Because what do you have to, I know, because I did a wilderness experience at the end of last year where I lived off the land for 10 days, fasted for 4 of the days, and needed to hunt in order to be able to eat and survive in 45 degrees Celsius weather every day. It was super intense. And I didn't feel mentally unwell at all throughout the experience. I felt really centered. And because I was preoccupied with things to do, I had to hunt, I had to track, I had to cook, I had to prepare, I had to clean, I had to look after myself as a full-time gig. Whereas I can outsource so much in this society, I just could click a button, and then instead of spending 5 days straight hunting to get a meal, I spend 3 seconds clicking a button on the phone and the meal rocks up to my door. And so with all this extra exposure to convenience, therefore, like us not feeling that purpose, that's one thing. But even more so than that, if you're in a tribe and you're living in amongst 50 people, you're going to know like maximum 100 people in your entire life, see 100 different human beings in your entire life, living with 20 to 50 other people, but obviously generations change and maybe you meet up with another tribe. But seeing like 100 people total in your entire lifetime versus scrolling for 5 minutes and seeing more than 100 people on your phone, right? That's so different. That's so overwhelming, right? Even from like a meeting the opposite sex perspective, excuse me. Back in the day, you had a tribe. There's probably like max 5 people to choose from, and you choose your partner. And if you're lucky enough to have one, then you pass on your genes and you move on, and you've got your family within the tribe. But you know, these days you're scrolling on Tinder and you're getting the option for hundreds of people by being obsessively and compulsively scrolling on it and swiping on it in whenever you want at your fingertips. And then you go on to any porn sites and you're seeing every shape, size, hair color, personality flavor, everything. And you're just watching all this. I'm not saying that you are, but that's what we have access to. It's super overwhelming. Then you walk into the city and there's thousands of people. So you're seeing more than 10 times the amount of people you'd see in your entire lifetime in like a 5-minute period in the city. It's wild. It's a lot for our nervous system. And so on top of that, you then have, what about your purpose? We can do anything. You can do any job pretty much anywhere in the world or just online. And you've got thousands of different career directions to choose. Whereas in the past, what do you learn? If you're a male-bodied person, a man, you learn to hunt. If you're a woman, you learn to weave baskets, collect berries, mother, nurture. And together, there's pretty limited roles that the men and the women would do to be able to survive, right? That's what you do. You just do what you're told and you just get on with it, right? Whereas now, you got unlimited options, which is so overwhelming and confusing. It's really a rise of the feminine, actually, because the masculine is containment. And in this day, it's very difficult to contain, right? It's difficult to contain your career to one direction when there's so many options. It's difficult to contain your commitment to one person when there are so many options. It's different to contain your choice of how you want to approach your health when there are so many options. Whether you're going to be vegan, are you going to be pescatarian, vegetarian? Are you going to be carnivore? Are you going to go on some 5 and 2 diet? Are you going to do a keto diet? Like, you know what I mean? There's just so many options. That's overwhelming for our nervous system. And so right now in this day and age, we actually have way less danger than what we had in the tribal days, but our nervous system is firing more unhealthily than it ever has before. We're feeling more anxious, mentally unwell. Cavemen weren't committing suicide, right? I'm telling you that. Cavemen were not committing suicide. Why are we doing it now when we're safe? Because our nervous systems are disproportionately dysregulated, like compared to what we're being exposed to. We're being constantly confused and tricked by our nervous system to think that there's danger because we're in a stressful and overwhelming environment. So I believe that as a human being, you listening to this or watching this, if you're on YouTube watching this episode, that you're going to live a far more fulfilling life in this personal development space by learning to live a life of fulfillment, of wholesomeness, of normalcy, to be able to feel normal and feel fulfilled within that, to be able to know who you are and feel fulfilled within you. That is the important baseline foundation. And I'm sorry to burst the bubble of the excitement of me trying to sell you on some exciting, rapid growth, rapid success path that you can take, because it's still possible to do that. But I'm just telling you from someone that has done that several times. Last year, I made $100,000 in a week, and it didn't help me at all. It really didn't. And it actually caused a lot of karmic consequences in my nervous system. And from someone like, I've made $1 million in a month. I've had a lot of success. I'm telling you, it had no correlation to my level of fulfillment. I hope that you can hear that and trust that without having to try it for yourself, but you might need to anyway. It's not easy, by the way. You can't just click your fingers and have that level of success. It takes an enormous amount of sacrifice and courage, but also I'm here to say that fulfillment matters first. Hashtag fulfillment first. Fulfillment doesn't mean sitting on a beach. Fulfillment doesn't mean not taking action in your business. Fulfillment means having the option in your own map of reality to prioritize what you need on the day, so that if you do need a break, you can give yourself that. If you do want to connect more with friends, you can give yourself that. If you do want to pursue a career that makes slightly less money, but's incredibly more fulfilling for you, that you can do that. You get a lot more fulfillment from it. You can give yourself permission for that, that you can be with a partner and call in a partner and commit to a partner that might not be the Kim Kardashian, but actually go after the person that has the most aligned values, that has the most wholesome alignment, that is what you need and not what your ego is attached to. I see this all the time with the events that I run and the people that I coach, with men and women, straight and gay, that are looking for somebody that Instagram's going to approve of, not someone that is actually going to feel really wholesome for their heart, someone that's actually going to make their life the most fulfilled. And so I'm really taking a stand for fulfillment first. Hashtag fulfillment first. Hashtag fulfillment first. And I know right now that you guys, most of you, and most of the people that have followed me from the past don't care about what I've got to say because it's boring. I'm not telling you how to make $100,000 in a week, even though I kind of know a way that you could do it. It's not going to help you. I'm here to tell you and teach you from the $750,000 plus and the just tens of thousands of hours that I've spent on personal development. I'm here just to share my honest experience of what has made the biggest difference to the quality of my life. And that's what fulfillment is for me, the highest consistent quality experience of life, which is not the most success. It's not the most time, having the most time. It's nothing intellectual. It's about alignment. It's about staying aligned. But it's very difficult to be aligned when you're reactively pursuing the shoulds of society, of your parents. If you're afraid of who you are and you're thinking you're not good enough and you desperately need to do better, it's very impossible to choose to embrace what you need in that particular moment or on that particular day to feel awesome on that day before we get to the next one, so that you can just stack these moments of fulfillment and live an incredibly fulfilling life. And so that is where I am at. I am learning to embrace normalcy in my relationship, in my health. I'm undoing postural conditioning. My posture, my body's movement is the product of very guarded posture, hunched shoulders, curved back, my head facing forward, essentially protecting my heart, shielding and guarding myself, instead of living with my body posture and movement being really free and really open and really strong and really grounded. I am strong, but not in a functional way, right? So I'm learning how to move effectively and undo the dysfunctional movement patterns that have been ingrained in my body my whole life. You know, I look at a photo of myself, of my inner child from when I was 5 years old, and I can see my posture. I'm hiding, I'm scared, I'm nervous. Not always. I was also a happy child in lots of different things when I was in the present moment, climbing trees and whatnot. But just as kind of like an average of how I felt around other people in the world, I was very scared. And so I'm learning to live a life that's normal and awesome and healthy, which involves going after my dreams in the most wholesome way. Not going after my dreams so I can be a big somebody, but going after my dreams so I get to live a life that's really fulfilling and aligned for me. And it makes it so much easier to go after your dreams when you're connected to the wholesome reasons why you want to create them. You're connected to a why that is healthy. So for example, if you're pursuing a business because you love what you do, not pursuing it to try to make heaps of money so you can buy some Louis Vuitton and get a Mercedes, I can tell you it's a very lonely journey, and it's possible to create, but it sure as hell is not going to make your journey more fulfilling. And then you're in fear mind because you're being driven by fear. I'm not enough without my Mercedes. So you're in your fear brain. So when you go to take action, you care so much more in that same state about whether you get rejected with some social media posts or some marketing or sales calls, because you're in your fear mind. You're trying to look good. You're afraid. And therefore the action taking is very difficult because you're already in a state that's got magnified fear in your system. Whereas if you're actually connected to, I just want to do what I love, even if it requires courage, because there's things that are scary, like me doing this podcast episode, because I'm connected to wanting to be honest and real and authentic and share my heart and make a difference to your life. It makes it easy for me to take action because I'm not focused on how good do I sound, etc. Even though those aspects are still there for me. When I can orient my focus to the wholesome nature of my heart and away from the fear-based nature of my head, it's easier to take action. So I'm learning this. I've got a ridiculously complex and pretty amazing understanding of personal spiritual development, emotional healing, and how it all integrates together. In fact, I've created a whole modality on it called the COR Method, and I understand that in an incredibly subtle and nuanced way. And the COR Method that I created is fairly brilliant, but I'm learning to navigate my own demons and embody my own processes, because I've got a David and Goliath battle, me as David and my trauma being Goliath, learning just to show up as a healthy, normal adult, to prioritize a balanced, wholesome life of regular connection, being of service, being consistent. And I can say with truth that I do have an incredibly wholesome life. So a lot of trauma in my body, a lot of things that I'm having to navigate. I need to do daily breath work at the moment to help process my emotions. And I have a lot of anxiety come up, and especially in connection, in relationship. I'm going to do a whole separate episode on my relationship OCD and how I've navigated that and what that is, and how I've gotten over fears of intimacy and commitment, and a whole episode I'm going to do on that. How I've called in my queen, essentially, and we have an incredible relationship that's challenging but incredible and healthy and wholesome. But this is everything I just shared there is where I'm at. I am learning to human. I am learning to be wholesome. I am prioritizing fulfillment. And it even, like, to be 100% honest, like, even as I'm sharing that, it feels really confronting to share that, because my ego is screaming at me, feeling insecure about where I am, because as layers have continued to be stripped back on my external validation, my level of external validation has gotten smaller, meaning like gotten less traction. My traction's been building recently on Instagram, so I feel like my message is starting to stabilize, and yeah, I feel really great about the sort of content that I'm putting out there, this episode included. But it has been incredibly difficult for me to not just be like, screw this, I'm gonna just smash the gym and get strong and become a fighter, while I'm also simultaneously leave my relationship and just have sex with a bunch of hot chicks, while also working 70 hours a week, making as much money as I can. You know, those head attachments are there. Those aspects of my consciousness are there. And I know I can do it as well, because I've got all the skills to do those things and I'm practiced in all those things. But that's the most painful experience of life that I can have, when I experience life from that lens. So, I'm just going to take a breath here. Oh, so I'm feeling a bit exposed right now. I'm feeling, a little bit of my shame. And there's the part of me that feels really actually like just exposed. I feel exposed because I'm essentially sharing the truth of who I am and where I am, learning to human. I'm not a superhuman. I'm not. And in many ways, I'm oftentimes not a healthy human, because I'm learning how to live. I'm learning how to do life. I'm learning how to human. So embracing normalcy is a concept that feels so challenging to commit to and prioritize, versus the easy short-term gratification ways that I can satiate my ego. Oh, but this is the journey of fulfillment. And if we go back to those top 5 regrets of the dying, learning how to express yourself, staying connected with friends, not working too hard, but living a life, having the courage to live a life aligned to you, not what other people expect of you. That's a big one. That's making your dreams come true in a way. Or that's prioritizing the level of success and way that you want to authentically approach your purpose and career in a way that's aligned to you, even if society doesn't celebrate it. But knowing that you love yourself enough to prioritize what's meaningful and important to you, because you have that level of self-worth. You got that level of inner power. This is power. Choosing fulfillment is power. The person that's flimsily and desperately grasping at a bunch of these external ideas of society loving them, there's a lot of suffering in that. There's a lot of outsourcing of power, because then all of the power, all of the energy and the fuel is outside of yourself. So when it changes, doesn't go well, etc., desperate, intense suffering kicks in. And it's a very, very weak human being that is riding all of their confidence and worth externally. And it takes a very strong, grounded, mature human being to prioritize normalcy. And I don't mean not going after and having an amazing relationship where you have awesome intimacy regularly and you're going deep together and you're pursuing your dream and you're making your purpose a reality and being of genuine service. It's just doing those things in the most wholesome way, without the attachment and needing them all to come to fruition straight away, but actually feeling freaking awesome and valuable for who you are inherently as a human being, as your unique soul's imprint. Because your flavor of personality is so different to mine and everyone else's. You're so unique and different. And when you're connected to your alignment and your heart, the expression of how you live your life will have overlaps with anyone else that's connected to their own heart. Compassion, awareness, connection, fulfillment, purpose, all these different overlapping qualities and feelings. But the way that it's going to look in terms of how you live, where you live, who you surround yourself with, is going to be really different and unique. And that's exciting. but it can be done wholesomely. And that's what I'm championing in this podcast episode. So that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. Let me feel into if there's anything else that I have to share here. Yeah, it's just about mastering the basics for me right now. Prioritizing enough sleep. Eating, like for the last 8 weeks, I've had no processed food. I've only eaten organic meat, vegetables, essentially, and have some cacao. That's awesome. I'm so impressed with myself. And I normalize it. I normalize not having a sore gut or not feeling lethargic and just feeling energized. It just feels normal to me. But when I relapse is when I notice the difference, right? I also prioritize meditation twice a day and breath work daily and only have cold showers at the moment. I think it's fine to be relaxed with habits and not have to do them all the time. But at the moment, with what I've been navigating in terms of nervous system overwhelm in relationship, I've needed these things in order to be able to function healthily. Needed all these habits. So this for me is like nailing the basics, learning to, when I feel like headbutting the wall, to communicate healthily and vulnerably in connection. That's a basic that is very difficult for me. So that's something I'm learning to trust, commit, stay open. And I'm going to talk about relationships in another episode, but I want to talk about a little bit more in depth on what I'm offering and why I'm offering right now. To be 100% honest, I'm actually working on decreasing my prices at the moment. It's actually really scary for me to decrease my prices and make myself accessible. It's actually really scary for me to not control my income by having super premium offers. But my soul doesn't want super premium offers as like the only offers that I have. Like I actually genuinely at my heart level, that's why I've been running these free events called the Heart's Prayer. Because one thing that I haven't mentioned in here, I've just been candidly talking about the challenges of living inside Ryan the Lion Magic Madge's body, mind, psychology, etc. But I haven't really spoken about what I've been doing on a professional level, because the last 3 and a bit years, I have been like, in some ways, like a mad scientist, writing algorithms on the board, on a whiteboard or a blackboard, integrating and building an entire personal development modality called the COR Method. I referenced at the start of this. Now, the COR Method is essentially a way of integrating the entire personal development landscape into a moment-to-moment approach to life that is most empowering and fulfilling. It teaches people how to embrace fear, and it compartmentalizes the whole space so that then when you're learning personal and spiritual development, you're in your power consistently. You learn a new modality or a tool or some new theology or philosophy. Nothing is going to contradict with the model that I've created with the COR Method. So it's an integrative modality of empowerment that helps to be able to take massive action and succeed on a business scale or a purpose scale, to be able to feel fulfilled, grounded, and worthy in who you are, to be able to go on the deep spiritual journey, to do emotional healing work, to leverage personal development modalities, but integrate it all together. So you don't have one without the other. And it is really powerful. It is, without taking full credit for it, because it was gifted to me from God, from the universe as a download, but it is really a masterpiece. It's a brilliant modality that's completely different to anything else that I've seen in the personal development space, because it's not like a modality like NLP or Time 1 therapy or parts integration or internal family systems. That's like a tool that you use. It's how do you approach everything? How do you live every moment? How do you navigate hardship? What does it mean? What's the meaning of life? And it's really freaking awesome. It is really freaking awesome. And it lights me up so hard. That's why I've been running the Heart's Prayer event, which is a aspect of the COR method. It's an important tool within it. But I teach the Heart's Prayer for free. So if you're in Melbourne, come along. If you're not in Melbourne, that's okay. There's 2 ways that I can support you. And I promise you, if you get on board with the philosophy that I'm sharing and the perspectives that I share and the tools and the practices that I share, I promise you, you will live your most fulfilling life. I promise you, you'll live your most fulfilling life. You may not get rich quick, but you will live your most fulfilling life. You will have the capacity to make money quicker because I teach courage, and courage is a teleportation tool in a way. But what I'm teaching is not a compartmentalized model in the sense of it's not apply it to this to get this. It's a holistic model of understanding what life's about in a way that doesn't in any way limit someone's sovereignty and uniqueness as a person. It's not like you should live life like this. It's a modality that teaches people to leverage their own alignment and approach their own situation with tools that are custom to the person. It's really something special. And so if you want to learn from me and you want to live your most fulfilling life and you want to take your power back and be in the driver's seat of your life and just live your best freaking life, your most fulfilled life, and you're ready and you resonate with the energy that I've brought onto this call, into this podcast episode, then the way that I'm teaching the COR method is through a 3-day workshop. I've only run one of these so far, and it was freaking awesome. I ran it over 2 days, and I crammed so much into 2 days. It was very long, and I'm actually going to do it over 3 days for the next one. And by the time you're listening to this episode, I might have even be doing a different one. But I'll be teaching the exact same philosophy, but I'm experimenting with the format, and it's very affordable. It's very affordable. And so if you're ready to get the tools, like the results from people that attended the first workshop were extraordinary, with people like taking full reins of their life, activating full power in themselves and feeling a wholesome level of like inner peace that they carry through their journey, that therefore speeds up their success, their connection, their capacity to call in their dream partner, their capacity to live their purpose. It's really something special. So anyway, I'm really excited about the COR method. And if you go to ryanmagic.com, you can find out when the next workshop dates are, or you can always PM me, DM me on Instagram and ask me, or send me an email to ryan@ryanmagic.com. But that's what I want to shoot your way. Meditation's the thing that is the biggest foundation for me, which is why I also teach meditation. I would love to initiate you into having a regular daily meditation practice, to becoming a meditator. Not trying to meditate, or I've meditated before, but being a non-negotiable twice-a-day meditator is life-changing. It is life-changing. Oprah Winfrey, Joe Rogan, Katy Perry, Russell Brand. These are all people that meditate twice a day. Ray Dalio, using a transcendence technique and a meditation type. And if you are ready to go to the next level, come to the workshop. Separately to that, learn to meditate over a 3-session course. It goes for 2 hours each session over 3 consecutive nights. Would love to teach you to meditate. Let's go. Let's go. Like I was saying before, I've been on a journey of learning to be comfortable to charge less. I've got a really solid financial situation. I don't need to make a lot of money. I've got solid investments. And still, I find it really difficult to decrease my pricing. Even though people are willing to pay premium, I want to be accessible to more people. So if you want to work with me, chat to me, and we'll find a way to make it work financially. But I want to support you to live your most fulfilling life, because you deserve that. I am feeling complete with this podcast episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. And these are going to be coming out twice weekly. Please, if ever, even if you do it 10 times in over 10 days, If something resonates with you from something I've shared on this episode or other episodes, please tell me. It makes such a difference to me. It really lights me up. So please shoot me a message at the Ryan Magic on Instagram, or you can email me, ryan@ryanmagic.com. But yeah, please reach out and let me know. Or if you have any questions, or you want me to do content on something, or a podcast episode on something, or you want me to bring a particular guest on, I usually bring guests on that I'm fascinated about. But yeah, would love to hear from you. So please connect and go over to ryanmagic.com, check out what I have coming up. And that's it, guys. Have the best day. Peace out. Much love. And I'll see you guys in another episode soon. You.